Opinions expressed on this radio program do not necessarily reflect the views of this radio station.
Todd L. Levitt.
Todd L. Levitt.
Todd and Craig, good to hear you guys.
Todd L. Levitt.
This is Attorney Todd L. Levitt.
Honestly, you could not be any more spot on.
Now, from the Black Diamond Group mothership in the studios of 98.5 UPS, the Todd L. Levitt Law Show.
Welcome to the Todd L. Levitt Law Show. Good morning, good evening, and good night. I'm yours truly, Attorney Todd L. Levitt, broadcasting and podcasting in the middle of the mitten in the Black Diamond Group mothership in a beautiful green nutrient field with my good friend, Craig Russell, the muscle, the hustle. He's the dankiest dank-to-dank human I know. He's America's favorite nug. The water is wet. The sky is blue. He's a 4-cheer turn on the voice. And we love you. How you doing, Craig?
I don't even know what that means. What does that mean? A 4-cheer turn?
The show The Voice. If,
yeah, I don't.
Like
don't
the singer. I don't know. If everybody turns the chair, then they're gonna fight for that particular singer to be on their team as the show moves forward.
I'm actually unfamiliar with the show. I mean, I know what the show is, and I know it's, Reba McEntire and some others on it, but I've never actually watched it, so I don't know.
You've been watching way too many reruns of Pee-wee's Playhouse. You got to get with the program.
Well, hey, Pee-wee's still pretty hip.
How you doing, Craig?
I am fan-freaking-tastic. How are you, Todd?
I could not be better. We opened up the show with Jackson Browne. Jackson Browne, I don't know, I guess I'm going to be 60. Everyone from our generation. Does he not remind you of high school or junior high?
Totally.
I mean, completely.
Totally.
Because he came out about, the late 70s, early 80s?
Early 70s, actually. His first song was in 71 or 72.
Okay, I didn't know that.
But he had a lot of big hits in the late 70s and early 80s, Running on Empty and all that stuff from Forrest Gump. And then, Lawyers in Love, which we just played, that came out in the 80s. Same with the song from Fast Times at Ridgemont High that he did. And all this, he had a lot of good stuff in the 80s, too. So, yep. 70s and 80s, but certainly.
Yeah, he's fan-flippin-tastic. But we have a huge show today for the listeners. Who's coming on the show, Craig?
That would be Mike the Nichols, attorney
at law.
Yeah, he's got a bunch of stuff to talk about, including something we talked about a few weeks ago that he's got an update on. So he's all hot to do that. I know that.
Yeah, Craig. I reached out to you this week. I had something happen to me. And these things only happen to me. I don't know if it happens to anybody else, but I guess I'm the only one with this type of platform that gets to talk about things that occur during my, daily travels. So,
okay.
And as you recall the story, I'm in Mount Pleasant last week, and I'm at a pharmacy inside one of the big box stores.
Sure.
And in this pharmacy, there's chairs against the wall, and the counter is a little off, I don't know, about maybe 15, 20 feet from the chairs. So if you have a prescription, you could sit and wait. And so I was sitting and waiting at this moment.
Okay.
And as I'm, I told you the story. Yeah. As I'm, after it happened, but as I'm sitting there waiting, this lady pulls her cart literally in front of me. I don't think she saw me sitting there. She leaves her cart. She goes up to the counter. Okay, and I looked at her cart. I cannot make this stuff up. This is a true story. And in her cart was one item, Craig. I mean, one clothing, one piece of clothing, one item in her cart. It was not boxed. It was on a hanger. It was an extremely large blue bra. Okay.
Okay.
I'm not kidding. I told you the story.
Yeah.
I couldn't wait to talk about it on the radio. So I'm sitting there looking at the cart. It's literally, I couldn't even spread my legs out. She had just pulled it right up in front of me, not knowing I was sitting there. I mean, she must have been late 60s, early 70s, is my guess. She walks back to the cart, after she gets her prescriptions in her hand. She's looking at me. I'm looking at her. I mean, she froze, and I just sat there. The first thing that came out of my mouth was, "That's a really nice color." I mean, I didn't know what else to say. Well, what do you, I've never in 59 years, I mean, yeah, granted, when we're young men, little boys, and back in the day, our grandmothers and aunts and moms would take us to the mall, or it was very painful for a young man to go shopping, back to school, or just to the mall dragged around while all the women in your family try on clothes. And so, yes, I was with women back in the 1970s. I'm sure they were purchasing undergarments. But in this case, I mean, Craig, this lady her cart rolled up. The bra was there. It was large. It was blue. I mean, it was really pretty. And she looks at me and she froze. I didn't freeze. I mean, I just said, "That's a really nice color." And she started laughing and she apologized. I said, "What are you apologizing for? I'm a grown man. I've got women in my life. It's just a bra." And as soon as I said the word bra, all these people in line who were waiting to be called next are cracking up. So anyway, there's my story last week. This stuff only happens in my world for some reason. But, man, I just can't get over that.
I'll definitely tell you, and I think I told you this when I texted you back, those things only do happen to you. I don't think they ever happen to anybody else. They certainly don't happen to me. I have other embarrassing things that happen.
Nice color. I mean,
of all the things you could have said, you said that's a really nice color. I'm guessing it was a nice color.
What am I supposed to say? Geez, that fabric is fantastic, or geez, that's going to look fantastic on you. I'm sure it was already somewhat maybe on her end embarrassing that she left her cart with the bra in it. Literally, I'm at eye level, Craig. These chairs are low to the ground. I mean, I'm staring right at that thing. I could have attached a rope to it, taken it outside in the wind. I could have flew that thing to the moon, okay? That's how big this thing was. This thing was like a parachute. You could jump off a tower and land safely. I'm just saying respectfully.
Color. Respectfully. Very respectfully. That's a huge bra you got there, lady. I'm surprised.
That's a nice color.
That's a nice color. At least you were tactful enough to say that. You could have, if Little John would have been with you, he would have went, "Hey, that's a big bra you got there."
Oh, man. Oh, man. So speaking of Little John, we got attorney Mike Nichols coming on the show, which has nothing to do with Little John. But let's see if we can get Little John on the horn. We haven't talked to Little John in a while.
That sounds like a great idea.
Yeah, so, here we are. This is our expensive production team here, otherwise known as an iPhone.
From another mother. How you doing?
Hey!
Okay, is this Little John or is this Craig imitating Little John? How you doing, Little John?
This is Little John imitating Little John.
Oh, man. Hey, Craig and I miss you, Little John, and we were just talking about you. How you doing, Little John, and what's been happening in your life these days?
Well, you know how I'm doing. Easy ones twice and the good ones 3 times.
Oh, absolutely. Well, we've got attorney Mike the Nick Nichols coming on the show. This is our first segment. We opened up with Jackson Browne. Little John, I mean, you're a music connoisseur. What kind of music do you like? Little John. I think we lost Little John to the opera.
Oh, there's Little John. There's Little John.
Yeah.
He's back.
Chuck Berry.
Chuck Berry?
Oh, yes.
Okay. I like Chuck Berry. Craig, what about you?
I'm more of an 80s guy, but...
I had the privilege to party with them guys.
Okay.
Back in the old days, in the 60s, early 70s.
Okay.
Well, Jack,
Little
that sounds like he's maybe partying with him right now.
Yeah, Craig thinks you're partying with him right now, Little John. I mean...
Oh, I'm partying all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. We're turning it and burning it, smoking it and toking it right here on the Todd 11 Law Show, trying to end reefer madness once and for all. Big shout out to M66 out there. We love you guys. But Little John, we haven't talked to you in a while. Any shout outs before we let you go?
Oh, yeah. Shout out to any and everybody that we just have a great time and don't bring up election and religion in any public place.
Well, there you go. There you go. Wise words from the man, Little John himself. Little John, we don't have a lot of time. We have to let you go, but just want to say we love you.
Brother from another mother, that he better have a good time.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
We'll talk to you soon, Little John.
Bye, Little John.
Stay and be safe.
You too, brother. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Hey, Little John.
Little John, everybody. Little John.
Glad he's alive.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So, Craig, it was a busy week of law last week. I'm not going to get into it. But I was up in Clare with the Honorable Judge Farrell. Big shot. Much love to Judge Farrell and all the deputies in the Clare County court system up there. They know who they are. They do such a professional job when you walk into the District Circuit Court building in Harrison, Michigan, as well as the men and women in Gladwin, all the deputies and sheriffs, all the troopers out there. I got a bunch of friends that are troopers, City of Mount Pleasant, Tribal, and also CMU Police, my buddy Scott Malloy, my buddy Mike Morrow. Everybody does such a great job. Big shout out to Dan Morrow out there. A lot of shout outs. I want to give a big shout out to myself, Craig. I've been giving a shout out to myself lately. So,
well, there you go.
Shout out to myself, Todd L.
Who deserves it more? Who deserves
Craig,
it more? You.
Before we go to break and bring on Mike Nichols, give yourself a shout out.
I'll give a shout out to me. I feel weird doing that. I feel weird doing that. So anyway, hey, Mike Nichols in the holding tank. He's ready to go. We'll talk to him next on the Todd L. Levitt Law Show. This is attorney Todd L. Levitt here to tell you about my favorite one and only, the only one I go to, M66 Cannabis Company, recreational dispensary right here in the great state of Michigan, central northern Michigan, located at 3023 20 Mile Road, Beaverton, Michigan, between Big Rapids and Mount Pleasant, Michigan. M66 Cannabis Company is frickin' fantastic, folks, from pipes to edibles to flower, 24 different strains. The staff, all locally hired, general manager, knowledgeable, community-oriented, family-owned. Be sure to check out M66 Cannabis Company, Beaverton, Michigan.
Hey, this is Mike Messina, general manager at M66 Cannabis Company out of Barrington, Michigan, off of M66. And I want to personally invite you down to M66 Cannabis Company to come peruse our wide selection of different products, 18 different strains of flower, 29 different types of cartridges, and so much more. We've got everything that you could possibly need and a very well-trained and compassionate staff there to help you find exactly what you're looking for.
That's M66 Cannabis Company, located at 3023 20 Mile Road. That's 3023 20 Mile Road. My favorite recreational dispensary here in Michigan. Be sure to stop in and tell the folks when you get there you heard it right here on the Todd L. Levitt Law Show. Welcome back to the Todd L. Levitt Law Show, Lawyers in Love. by Jackson Browne, one of my all-time, Craig, top 5 solo performers of the last century, Jackson Browne.
Last century, wow. That goes back a long way.
And that goes out to Mike and Wendy Nichols because, albeit Mike is now in the mothership, Wendy, his boss, a.k.a. attorney at law Wendy Nichols, the two of them are attorneys, get it? Lawyers in love. So let's welcome clever. Mike to the show. Mike Nichols, attorney at law. How you doing, Mike?
Let me just tell you, it feels good to be in the mothership.
Yeah, we missed you, Mike.
Thank you. I went from Comerica Park, where I watched the Thursday game with the Nichols Law Firm team, a win over the Tampa Bay Rays, to the mothership. So I'm so happy to be here. From excitement to excitement.
Yeah.
Big excitement.
Yeah, by the way, how my law school, Detroit College of Law, I believe is where first base is where the Tigers play. Did you know that?
It is right near where first base is. Absolutely correct. And there is a plaque in the old Detroit College of Law. Yes, which is now at the Michigan State University Law School because DCL is now MSU. DCL, Detroit College of Law, is now Michigan State University Law School. There is a plaque there. It's cool. It's a little Michigan history, but great day at Comerica Park, man.
Way to go. How'd the Tigers do? You said they won?
They won, comeback win, won 4-3. Took the entire law firm family there, and we had a great day.
That's outstanding. You know, it's really good to do that. It's good for morale. It's good for it's just good
team building.
It's just good team building karma. Mm-hmm. Says a lot about you and Wendy and how you run your business. I mean, Jen and I, we feel the same way. So, Mike, you are an attorney extraordinaire. We talk about you almost every week, even when you're not on the show. What is going on in the world of law with attorney Mike Nichols these days?
Man, we had a big oral argument where the Michigan Supreme Court went to Marquette. They heard literally oral arguments on a real live case, not in the Hall of Justice, not in the Ivory Tower, but at Northern Michigan University, where they had the whole bench and they're the major components of the Michigan Supreme Court's team. And they had a public presentation of an oral argument on a very important case to you and I, Todd, and your listeners, called People versus Armstrong, which we've talked about before.
The marijuana traffic stop case, right?
And the whole issue is the odor of marijuana in and of itself, with no other fact for the officer, is that enough to order the driver out of the car, search the car, and conduct further investigation? That's the whole issue around the case.
And the opinion is what?
The Court of Appeals said the odor of marijuana in and of itself is not enough to create what we call reasonable suspicion of criminal activity for the officer to continue to detain the person beyond just saying, hey, you were going a little fast, I'm going to write you a ticket for 5 over. The Court of Appeals said, nope, not enough. If the cop is claiming all I have is the odor of marijuana, that is not enough to continue beyond just giving the person a traffic ticket, to continue an investigation, get the person out of the car, search the person, do all those field sobriety tests that we've seen on TV all the time. The prosecutors objected to that. It was a Wayne County case, so the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office appealed and asked the Supreme Court to take it up. And I don't know why the Supreme Court is even considering whether to grant leave to appeal, which we need to talk about because that's an important legal concept. But I think a lot of it has to do with, the Wayne County Appellate Division, always, really smart lawyers who've always done a great job historically. And maybe they just wanted to give them their, to use a baseball metaphor, their turn at bat. But whether or not to give leave to appeal is this. If you're in the middle of a case, right, you get charged with a crime, case hasn't been decided, you haven't had a jury trial, you haven't pled guilty. If one side or the other thinks there's a problem with the admissibility of evidence, you appeal that. And the Court of Appeals, which is the appellate level from the circuit court, they can say, no, we don't want to hear that. And the Michigan Supreme Court likewise can say, no, we don't want to hear that. The Court of Appeals granted leave to appeal on a motion to suppress filed by Mr. Armstrong. So the Court of Appeals decided to hear the trial court's ruling, and then the prosecutor appealed after they didn't like what the Court of Appeals did. So the Supreme Court literally heard an argument over whether or not they should hear a full appeal, which means a whole lot of writing by a whole lot of lawyers and a whole lot of what we call briefing. Fill in your joke about briefing here. So that's where that case is at right now. Pretty cool.
So was the arguments presented in Marquette? Great town, by the way, Marquette, Michigan, Northern Michigan University, in the great state of Superior, otherwise known as the Michigan's Upper Peninsula, God's country. So were arguments heard then, correct?
Yeah, they literally heard the arguments, real live arguments at Northern Michigan University. By the way, Todd, I think we've talked about this. That's the home to the Ore to Shore bike race in August. Great race. So that happened on Wednesday, and it's on YouTube. Any of our listeners can go on YouTube and watch it.
Why did they do it in up there? Why did they hold it up there?
Well, because I think a lot of it is Chief Justice Beth Clement, who is a Lansing kid, great person, great lawyer, there's a program called Community Connections, where the Supreme Court will go from, Lansing, the big majestic hall of justice, to different locations around the state so that people don't have to travel to Lansing to go listen and watch the Supreme Court in action. It's kind of a cool thing.
Yeah, the problem I have with law enforcement being able to search a vehicle based on smell alone, or based on the scent of marijuana, the driver, all of a sudden has his or her constitutional rights diminished is, one, what if somebody was a bud tender and had worked in a legal dispensary all day? Big shout out to M66, Village of Barrington.
Barrington, not Beaverton.
Yeah, not Beaverton.
Barrington, not Beaverton.
Yeah, exactly. Or what if they had a passenger in there who they had just picked up, who had a legal right to smoke? I mean, you could have a legal right to do something, and it has nothing to do with you operating the motor vehicle. You could have been doing it in your own residence in private. Now you're driving, you get pulled over for a blinker or some other civil infraction. The officer smells marijuana that had nothing to do with smoking while you're operating. You're not impaired. And so, I mean, those are all a list of arguments. I have no idea if those are part of, I mean, that's not necessarily a legal argument. It's more of my opinion, but that's just the facts right there, Mike.
Well, Todd, that came up during the oral argument.
Okay.
Yes. And wow. And the point, and I think this was Justice Kavanaugh, she said, I mean, it's not illegal to transport marijuana in a vehicle, right? That's perfectly legal. You can transport it from the dispensary to your house or to your friend's house or whatever. The line is drawn at smoking in your car because that's been defined as public consumption of marijuana, which takes you outside the protections of both the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act as well as the Legalization of Marijuana Act. We call it MRCMA. That came up, and and let's face it, let's get right down to the brass tacks that everybody wants to argue about, and that is, if you smoke or ingest marijuana, are you illegal to get behind the wheel? And the answer is not necessarily. Not necessarily at all, because everybody responds to it differently. It's a medicine, much like, a heavy-duty aspirin that you might get prescribed by your doctor.
Right, now, we have to go to break, but I'll just say this. There's an alternative argument on behalf of the people, the prosecutor, and law enforcement, that, okay, yes, you have a legal right to do something, but you don't have a legal right to do it if you're visibly impaired and you're going to put people's lives at risk. That's where the line is drawn, correct? I mean, that's just my legal analysis, but we're not defining that in this particular case. We're saying the smell of marijuana, not an impairment, not any reckless driving, but just somebody who may have been stopped, pulled over for some minor infraction, and then everything goes downhill from there. We have to go to break right now on the Todd Levitt Law Show with my good friend, your good friend, attorney Mike Nichols, Nichols Law, together with Wendy Nichols, attorney at law. Give out your phone number, Mr. Nichols, in case somebody wants to call and hire your services.
It's 517-432-9000. You will get a person on the phone who is compassionate and professional and also a Tigers fan.
Yeah. This is attorney Todd L. Levitt here to tell you about my favorite one and only, the only one I go to, M66 Cannabis Company, recreational dispensary right here in the great state of Michigan, central northern Michigan, located at 3023 20 Mile Road, Beaverton, Michigan, between Big Rapids and Mount Pleasant, Michigan. M66 Cannabis Company is frickin' fantastic, folks, from pipes to edibles to flower, 24 different strains. The staff, all locally hired, general manager, knowledgeable, community-oriented, family-owned. Be sure to check out M66 Cannabis Company, Beaverton, Michigan.
Hey, this is Mike Messina, general manager at M66 Cannabis Company out of Barrington, Michigan, off of M66. And I want to personally invite you down to M66 Cannabis Company to come peruse our wide selection of different products, 18 different strains of flower, 29 different types of cartridges, and so much more. We've got everything that you could possibly need and a very well-trained and compassionate staff there to help you find exactly what you're looking for.
That's M66 Cannabis Company, located at 3023 20 Mile Road. That's 3023 20 Mile Road. My favorite recreational dispensary here in Michigan. Be sure to stop in and tell the folks when you get there you heard it right here on the Todd L. Levitt Law Show. Welcome back to the Todd L. Levitt Law Show. All those lawyers in love, Mike and Wendy Nichols. God bless them. That's who our special guest is on the show today, Mike Nichols, attorney at law, talking about this flimsy, let's be really honest, that the whole Supreme Court, that thing, that's pretty flimsy, isn't it? Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. You talking about the Armstrong case?
Yeah, that we were just talking about. It's like, that just sounds, the smell, I mean, look, it's one thing if you've got some other things to corroborate, slurred speech, whatever, something visible. But if all you're going on is smell, that'd be saying the same thing with alcohol. Hey, I smell beer in your car, I'm going to arrest you. No, not necessarily. There could be any number of reasons why you'd have a beer smell in your car. Same thing with marijuana. Pretty flimsy.
Yeah, a great parallel is I've got a bag of empties. I've got 36 empty beer cans that I didn't clean out very well, so my back seat smells like beer. Exactly. But I haven't had a drop in 20 hours. That's not a crime, and that's kind of the parallel with Armstrong. Only with marijuana, it's stronger because marijuana is not like alcohol, and that's what everybody seems to forget. Justice Zara made a point, and that was, listen, I live in the Detroit area, and I drive anywhere in that community, and I'll drive through a neighborhood, and I'll know these people have been smoking marijuana, and they just smoked it, and they smoked a lot of it. Now, how he knows that is a curious observation. But having said that, I do agree with him. You know when somebody just smoked. You can smell it. It's pretty clear that, okay, within the last 10 or 15 minutes, somebody's been, using cannabis on a pre-roll, and I can smell all those smells. But without that, I mean, you can't just assume somebody is intoxicated by marijuana just because you think they might have marijuana in their vehicle or on their clothes or somewhere nearby. That, to me, is not enough to detain that person and continue to deprive them of their right to go about their lives and be left alone.
All right, so all this talk about marijuana, you know how you listen to a song, we talked about this last week, and it triggers a memory of something sad
like
happening.
Lawyers in Love?
Yeah, Lawyers in Love. All this talk about marijuana, I'm just listening. You're triggering all these amazing smells from all these different strains that that I'm familiar with. And I got to tell you something right now. I mean, people talk about, contact buzzes. My brain is getting a contact buzz, Mike, just listening to you right now. And I'm getting some kind of muscle memory of some sativa that I must have took in, over the last year, because I'm feeling pretty darn good right now. I'm just saying. So
Todd's going to make it
or indica or a hybrid.
Keep talking about it. What's that?
Sativa or indica or a hybrid?
No, I'm talking pure sativa, baby.
Todd is going to make a trip to Barrington this afternoon. That's what I think Todd's going to do.
But you got it.
Yeah,
but
Barrington, not Beaverton.
Yeah, not Beaverton.
Not
Big shout out
Beaverton.
to everybody at Brown Machine in Beaverton, by the way. I got a lot of friends that work there. But Mike, talk about, you had another legal issue that you sent me an article, and I have yet to read it. What was that about?
Yeah, so the Michigan Court of Appeals on Wednesday ruled that there was not enough evidence to sustain essentially an involuntary manslaughter against, this is a crazy fact pattern, really. But so this gas station clerk in Detroit, okay, so picture this, has somebody come in who's irate and gets really mad and it is maybe on something. And then the person who came in the store, so the customer, the irate customer, wants to leave, didn't pay for the stuff that he took. The clerk locks the door, and the clerk has like those bulletproof plexiglass protection windows. And he starts mocking the guy who he locked in, who is trying to, basically commit a retail fraud in broad daylight, right? Or basically this would be larceny from a building. And there are other customers in the store though, right? 3 people. And the guy who gets locked in goes literally ballistic and shoots people, the customers. Can't get the clerk. The clerk's behind the bulletproof, plexiglass. You can't make this up, Todd and Craig.
Crazy.
And the guy,
it's
he
sad.
killed one person.
It's sad. Yeah,
it is sad. But he killed one person, injured 2 other people, literally shot them. And the record in the trial court, it wasn't even clear how many times he shot one of the people who survived. So they charged the clerk with involuntary manslaughter.
That's what I was going to say. Something
claiming
like
that he was reckless for locking the guy in. And then the record, it's hard at the appellate level because all you get is the testimony from witnesses. And sometimes the lawyers do a good job developing the testimony. Sometimes they do less than a stellar job getting all the testimony out, all the facts out. But the clerk maybe mocked the shooter a little bit. And so they charged the clerk with involuntary manslaughter, claiming without the clerk's act of locking the shooter in the gas station / party store, the death and the injuries don't happen. And the Court of Appeal said, you can't do that. That's
because here's the other part. Did he know that the guy had a gun?
That's the legalese version.
Did he know? Did the clerk know that the guy had a gun?
Great question. And from the appellate opinion, they said the question here is what we call proximate cause, right? So there's but for cause, but for the clerk's conduct of locking the door. That's the factual cause, the but for cause. But there's proximate cause, which means was there something intervening by somebody else? And think the Crumbly case, right, with the kid from Oxford. Was there something else that got between the stupidity of the clerk locking the door and the injuries and the death? And here, the proximate cause, the Court of Appeals said, the proximate cause is broken. That chain is broken because this guy pulls a gun and shoots people. And even in Detroit, you can't necessarily say, okay, this is going to happen if I lock this guy in.
Yeah, how would you know that? But
the Court of Appeals said you got to show us more than what is on this record.
What did they do? What did they charge the clerk with?
The clerk, involuntary manslaughter.
Okay, so is that?
Yeah, but what they charge a shooter with?
Murder?
Well, what
that you would think that they charged the shooter, just like in the Crumbly case, right? They charged the kid with the murders and the
parents
injuries,
with the involuntary,
and then the parents with the involuntaries, which that's a what is that, a 15-year? But we know the Crumblies are, the parents are doing, a bunch of prison time over that.
Would they charge a shooter with second degree murder? It's not first.
It's not.
It wasn't premeditated, or he wasn't lying in wait. He just pulled his gun out, which is tragic, and just started shooting once he was locked in. So that's not first degree murder.
Now, Todd, I went to law school to cut down on the amount of reading that I do.
Right.
So I got to go back. No, I'm kidding.
Wait a minute. You're the author of how many books, though? You are the man. Are you kidding me?
This is a joke. It's an inside joke. One of my professors in a class in law school chided us because nobody really knew this case that he assigned, and he said, "Okay, come on, ladies and gentlemen, are you going to go tell the judge that you went to law school to cut down on your reading requirements?" Professor Thornton, God rest his soul. Anyway, so I got to go back and read the opinion. I don't remember what they charged the shooter with. I got to imagine it was at least second degree, right?
Sure, right.
He walks in with a gun. But the real thing to me is, this is a lot. Doesn't this seem a lot like that Crumbly case where the parents got charged for the conduct of the kid who had the gun in a completely different place?
Well, yeah, but in the Crumbly case, and again, this is just my thought as you're putting me on the spot here. I think the argument was the parents knew or should have known of his state of mind, and by purchasing the gun,
right?
So the clerk at the
foreseeability.
The clerk had no idea the guy had a gun. To Craig's point, if you have a child or somebody in your family who is not stable and has made threats, and they're not stable, and I'm a Second Amendment guy. I love the Second Amendment. I think everybody knows that we do. We love it. Big shout out to our vets each week and every week. We love you, all the vets out there, and everyone serving and your families. But I think in that case, I think the parents knew or should have known. And in this case, the clerk, how would the clerk know this guy had a gun?
Yeah, if the clerk bought the guy the gun, then you're talking a different story. But he would have done that. So, yeah.
Right.
And I'm not saying I agree or disagree with the Crumbly
foreseeability.
case. I'm not saying I disagree or agree with the Crumbly case regarding the parents. I'm just trying to compare the two fact patterns here. That's all.
A little different of a situation.
How's that for a law school analysis, Mr. Nichols?
What's great about this discussion is we're taking all of the listeners right into law school.
Yeah, you would be a great judge, by the way. Anybody ever tell you that other than myself?
No, just you.
Certainly not your wife. Not your wife.
Wendy has said you would make a great judge, but people would be counting your drinks at the bar. Is that what you really want?
Yeah, you don't want that. No.
Hey, Mike, give out your number to Nichols Law in East Lansing. And again, Mike, much love and respect to you and Wendy and your whole staff. There's not a day that doesn't go by, folks, Craig, whereby I'm not texting or emailing back and forth with Mike. And, myself as an attorney, to have access to his brain and his knowledge is just insane and it's provided such a benefit to my clients over the years. So, Mike, I appreciate all your time. Even today we were going back and forth, so I appreciate it.
Yes. Well, actually, Todd, you were helping me because I had a question about a case I have in Mount Pleasant, which I'll tell you about off when we're done taping. But anyway, the number is 517-432-9000. And I'm just kind of flipping through pictures that different members of the Nichols Law Firm team sent around to our little, we call it our family thread from the baseball game today. Lots of smiles. Everybody had a great time. And the Tigers won on Thursday, September 26th over the Tampa Rays. Some of our team members, we had 8 of our 10.5 employees go. Not employees, family members. A couple of them, it was their first time at a Major League Baseball game, so that was pretty sweet.
Cool. That's cool.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
And the stadium was it was a buzz, man. It was so great. Detroit was alive and hopping, and it was really cool.
Attorney
Go
Mike
Lions,
Nichols.
Monday Night Football. Too,
That's right. Monday Night Football tomorrow night.
Yes, it will be hopping on Monday night. Yes, that's right.
Mike
By
Nichols.
the way, I know we have to go to break. Yep. I just want to give a big shout out to my cousin Anthony. He started school a couple weeks ago. Jack, my godson, started hockey, and so big shout out to AZ and my entire family. This is really family down there in GR.
Mike Nichols, everybody. Nichols Law Firm. Thank you, Mike, for being on the show. We'll talk to you, I'm sure, soon.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.
This is attorney Todd L. Levitt here to tell you about my favorite one and only, the only one I go to, M66 Cannabis Company, recreational dispensary right here in the great state of Michigan, central northern Michigan, located at 3023 20 Mile Road, Beaverton, Michigan, between Big Rapids and Mount Pleasant, Michigan. M66 Cannabis Company is frickin' fantastic, folks, from pipes to edibles to flower, 24 different strains. The staff, all locally hired, general manager, knowledgeable, community-oriented, family-owned. Be sure to check out M66 Cannabis Company, Beaverton, Michigan.
Hey, this is Mike Messina, general manager at M66 Cannabis Company out of Barrington, Michigan, off of M66. And I want to personally invite you down to M66 Cannabis Company to come peruse our wide selection of different products, 18 different strains of flower, 29 different types of cartridges, and so much more. We've got everything that you could possibly need and a very well-trained and compassionate staff there to help you find exactly what you're looking for.
That's M66 Cannabis Company, located at 3023 20 Mile Road. That's 3023 20 Mile Road. My favorite recreational dispensary here in Michigan. Be sure to stop in and tell the folks when you get there you heard it right here on the Todd L. Levitt Law Show. Welcome back to the Todd L. Levitt Law Show. This is your special guest host, Mike Nichols, and Jackson Brown, Lawyers in Love. So I met Wendy on a divorce case, and we became lawyers in love, but first we were lawyers in battle. Mortal battle on a divorce case. Is that a true story?
It's a true case. Yeah. She worked for the Abood Law Firm. I worked for the Reynolds Law Firm, and we had husband and wife, and she wanted to grieve me. But my good friend Andrew Abood talked her out of it, and we discovered the fine line between love and hate, and we've tried to walk the right side for the last 19 years.
Wow. That's a
Was
love
Greenie
story.
your best man, by the way, in your wedding?
No, my best man was
Greenie.
Judge.
How do you like that?
My best man. My best man was Judge Janelle Lawless's law clerk.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
Mike Nichols from the Nichols Law Firm, who's been on the show with us the whole time, sharing his love story with...
It seems like it got less romantic when I talked about the law clerk as the best man.
Yeah, it took it. You didn't hear the first segment bra story, though, so you're going to have to re-listen to the first segment. So
okay, can't wait. Little John.
Yeah,
Little John.
Hey! Listen, Mike, obviously you'll be back on the show. You are a regular, like Baba Booey on the Howard Stern show. So look forward to having you back on, Mike. Once again, give out your phone number at the law firm. Go slow so people can hear it.
517-432-9000. 4 plus 3 is 7. Add 2, that's 9. Then go backwards to 0.
What?
Okay.
Say it again without all that stuff at the end.
517-432-9000.
There you go. Okay.
Fantastic. Mike Nichols, everyone.
Mike Nichols. Thank you.
Craig, I think we got to go.
Show's over, Todd. Let's go.
Craig, we're not here for a long time. We're here for a good time. I'm
good
not
time.
the litigator. You got it, Mike Nichols. I'm an advocate.
I'm an advocator.
Mike, who we taking out? Who we going out with today, Mike?
JB, Jackson Brown. Let's go.
Lawyers in Love.
Lawyers in love. Lawyers in love. Ooh, sha-la-la, ooh. Ooh, sha-la-la,
The Todd L. Levitt Law Show, brought to you by Clark Modular Homes of Mount Pleasant, Rusty Gold Antiques in Everett, Chad Malley Well Drilling of Rosebush, Clear Vision Windows, Siding and Roofing of Midland, and attorney Todd L. Levitt.
Opinions expressed on this radio program do not necessarily reflect the views of this radio station.